I'd just like to compliment our little friend, Dodgy Roger, for his nice explanation in relation to who are who are the sovereign citizens. You said it perfectly. You disobey the law. You think you're above the law. You shouldn't have guns because you're not even authorised to carry them. You take them off normal people, and you want everybody to do what you want because you're a little dictator. You know, as a result of this being put in place, proclaimed and gazetted, I don't need to go on about that. It was done. You accept it because you keep going back to it. You cannot deny that this was put in place with 32 sections missing, and under the provisions of Clause 7 of the Constitution, it ceased to exist on the 9th of July 1900. Like it or lump it, that's the law. This is the correct Constitution for Western Australia. Did you accept that? No. You thought you were above the law. Every political party in this country thinks they're above the law, thinks they get to do what they want, say what they want, and we jump when they say jump. Now you've got a new federal police commissioner who you've given what you call power to, but you made lots and lots of big mistakes. The first one is that you've created by any of these three laws. Supreme law to anything in this country. Like it or lump it, that's the law. You say, oh, for goodness sake, this is dangerous and all this garbage you come out with. Well, look at the amount of police, purported police, who are public officers, have shot people. Your allegation that sovereign citizens shot those people in Queensland. Well, rumour has it that the police union of Queensland own the property now. How does that come about? Why would you? Why would you? What's your explanation for that, Dodgy Roger? Why did 10 people go to search a property in the other allegation you made? And it was 10. Why, when 3 were allegedly shot, didn't the others do anything about it? Why has it taken 450 people wandering round the bush to search for him? Who's delivering the food to them? Those people. And there's more there now, according to yous. Where were they sleeping? Don't tell me they're just walking for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. No one's that thick to believe that. And do we believe the honesty of those public officers who are not police officers? Whether you like it or not, they're creatures of statute because they don't swear the lawful oath, the one required by state and Commonwealth constitutions. No exceptions, that's how it is. Now you can sit there and just say, the few people that go to court and challenge you, they challenge you on the real law, the law from the constitutions, the true law and the only law. But there are no lawful parliaments. When did that start? Nice little Fabian Billy Hughes, socialist communist little maggot, introduced conscription, preferential voting, and he, not anyone else, put in place the kangaroo and emu against the royal identifier. The evidence is here, locally in a museum 43 k's north of here, and it's a big plaque, and that was 1907, and it all says that on the document, on the piece of bronze, mind you. So are you going to remove that, hide it, or just lie about it? Again, as usual, you still look like your pupils are dilated, Roger. You carry on like you're some kind of an expert. You, Mark McGowan, and the rest of the Labor Party have done nothing but destroy the laws in this country, and claiming to be a government when you're only a parliament. You can't even put laws together. You can propose laws to the Executive Council, which is 18 people, 10 from the lower house, 8 from the upper, and the governor, and the Attorney General, who can't be a sitting member of Parliament. But you've gone against all of that. So you think you're above the law, and it's you, and you use your thugs, and they are thugs. Look at the brutality inflicted on the people from purported police officers who are public officers. I'm not talking about all of them, I know quite a few of them, and they aren't the same people. A lot of people like to paint everybody with the same brush, and it's obvious what you're doing, Dodgy Roger, because that's how you work. Everything you do, you lie, cheat, steal, and try to pull the wool over everyone's eyes. You see, back in 1942, John Gordon was the Prime Minister in the middle of the war, and he introduced Statute of Westminster Adoption Act and put it through Parliament. There wasn't enough people to do it, but it didn't matter. And then he backdated it till 1931-32, which negated the Act. Don't say it didn't, it did. You cannot backdate anything in the Constitution. Then use mob. So the first Prime Minister, Mr. Barton, went before the Parliament in 1919 and made it very clear he wanted answers as to why Billy Hughes had signed the Treaty of Versailles without going to the people. There's been several studies in can they, and it always comes back the same, they cannot. The people are supreme, sovereign, and have absolute authority. You sit back and you talk as if you're some authority. The only authority you got is over the rest of you sovereign citizens. You are the one claiming to be sovereign and supreme. You set up your own cabinet outside the Constitution, called it a government outside the Constitution, gave yourself absolute authority outside of the Constitution, created an army contrary to 114 outside of the Constitution. And how do you top it off? Look at that. You and McGowan, you produced the Aboriginal Heritage Act, which allows you to force us to have vaccines. You inflicted the world's greatest experimental vaccine on the people of this country, which is an act of terrorism. Is the new police commissioner for the federal police going to do something about that? That's going to be interesting. Very interesting to see if she's going to do it. See if she's going to deal with you people who are the sovereign citizens, who think you've got control, who have allowed all the public utilities to be sold off, registered with FARA, Foreign Agent Registration Act of America, US Department of Justice. You've allowed all of that. Every political party was involved. Who told you you could sell the assets of this country? Who told you you could borrow money external to this country? No one. So you took it upon yourself to exercise authority not granted by any constitution in this country. I put to you the fact that every constitution of every state was removed, and it was. Western Australia never put theirs in its original state. They did it deliberate. You added local government in 1979 to 6 unlawful state constitutions, therefore it doesn't exist. Doesn't. You cannot say it does, because the Constitution says it doesn't. Anything outside that is treason. 26 and a bit years ago, the people voted to retain the crown, not the Queen of Australia, King of Australia, and anything else. The Royal Styles and Titles Act was not 1954. You put in place around 1973, 74, and Bob Hawke decided to create it in actual fact and issue a letters patent as the Queen of Australia and her other realms under that authority. There is no such entity in our Constitution. The oath defines what you'd have to have. You didn't ask for permission to create a Royal Styles and Title Act simply because you know you didn't have it. And that's a fact. You can say you did when you didn't. Don't matter. Another area where you think you're above the law. Another area. You inflicted some shocking things on this country, but McGowan and Dodgy Roger, you committed blatant treason against the state of Western Australia, being the people. Not only have you not adhered to the original Constitution, which is a letters patent, you've totally ignored it. You created an entity known as the state using the Acts Amendment Repeals Court and Legal Practice Act, Section 8, removed the Crown from almost every reference in our laws. You didn't have a state constitution to authorise the state parliament, so don't say you had authority. You did not. You made lawyers officers of the court. In other words, when you get a lawyer to go to court, they just go and talk to the other lawyers, do whatever they like, ignore what you say, tell you to shut up, try to get you to be quiet in the court, not say anything, while they put their lies forward, not what you said. Now you've gone even further than that, haven't you? You have given lawyers a stamp of the court. In fact, we got the documents which prove it, because the court stamp of seal of the court is on the documents prior to the typing going on it. Now, does that one work? How does that work? Oh, you're being honest again? You're using the same law again? Or you're just lying again? I pick lying. But you're such a clown. Like McGowan's a clown anyway. Everybody calls him one, McClown. You created the Oath, Affidavits and Statutory Declarations Act and used that to remove the Oath of Allegiance from the state constitution. But you removed it from this one, the unlawful one. So what did you achieve with that? Just proves how much further you are as a traitor. Proved that you are the sovereign citizens. It goes further, and I'm not going away with it. Because you think somehow you've got all the rights and we've got none. That means you've assumed authority over the people when you can only pass laws for it. Pass laws as a parliament. You do not get to put them together. That's done by the executive. And you ignore that. Just another law that you claim what we did, but we didn't do anything. You did. You did nothing about explaining how Victoria police, public officers took up high-powered, rapid-firing weapons and fired on the people, albeit only rubber bullets. You fired on the people of this country. Blatant treason. What's the new commissioner going to do about that? What's the new commissioner going to do about the fact that you have not sworn the oath of allegiance and you're sitting in blatant treason? What else have you done? Look at that. After unlawfully adding local government in 1979 to all 6 unlawful constitutions, you then decided that you could enforce that, and you enforce everything. If you do not pay that, you decide, oh look, we can seize your property and take it. And you can sell it. I won in court in 2019. There was 43 witnesses say you're a lying little maggot, and I won. Van Stein's a lying maggot. I won. Australian Bulldust Club, they lied. Lying maggots. I won. You had previously sold my property. And what was your reasoning, McGowan and Dodgy Roger? Oh, the law says you owe the money, so you owe it. Doesn't matter what the court says. What does that tell you? You have taken control of the courts. A court cannot decide anything except what the law says. I put the law, the court, under a magistrate that you call a magistrate who hasn't sworn the lawful oath. He swore to serve the people and the state of Western Australia, both being the state. The state, or the people, are the state created by the Constitution. He ignored that. The other state being the state created under the Acts Amendment Repeals Court and Legal Practice Act, Section 8. Then he decided he'd have his own version, except I went systematically through all the law over 4 days, instead of the half day set down, and proved beyond any doubt that the Local Government Act had no power over my property. He ruled that he could not give Civic Legal and the council the authority to remove property off my land. They took it and they sold it. A half or part built F-250, fully restored chassis and painted and everything. Took it off, took everything else off there. He then said, I cannot give you authority over the land, or in relation to land. I don't have that authority. Well, the Supreme Court Act says that. That decision is a decision of the Supreme Court under the Supreme Court Act. Not that that's got any validity. It's made under this fraudulent state constitution, so that doesn't exist. But that means another thing. You assumed authority you didn't have. You went against the law, true law, not your lies, Dodgy Roger. You see, even in relation to the police, you set up roadblocks, you pull people over. You force them to blow into the bag. It is forcing. It's not voluntary. Blow in this. If you refuse, you get arrested and charged with drink driving. Well, look at that. You've got a problem with that little system. Huge one. And you've been getting away with it for a lot of years. You see, in Tatani versus the South Australian government, the High Court ruled, that's the Finks Motorcycle Club case in case you can't figure it out in your thick little brain. The High Court ruled you cannot have a law that takes away the judicial function of the court. You said if the State Act, the Local Government Act, which was added to the wrong state constitution, if that says you owe money, you owe it. So your act takes away the judicial function of the court. It was proved in 2019 when you said you didn't have authority to take it or deal with it. But you'd already taken all the titles, hadn't you? Dodgy Roger and Mark McGowan. You're not getting out of it because you run away to hide, McGowan. You're just as guilty as everybody else who sat in the Parliament, Liberal, Labor, no matter what. Everybody's vote in that Parliament that goes there has a right, except for the executive itself. Constitutional reality. But you lied. The whole problem is an act cannot take away the judicial function of the court. It was a decision for the court. Why didn't you put it there? You did, and you lost. And you lied. And you continue to lie. In effect, I am correct. I won, you stole my property and sold it prior to the decision of the court. That's conspiracy to pervert the course of justice. By every member of the state parliament who didn't vote against it, by Civic Legal, by Landgate, by the police, and by the courts for failing to stand up to them and tell them where to get off because they were wrong. Am I worried about it? Not necessarily, no. I don't put value on property above people's lives. Why would you? I come into this world naked with nothing. That's a good thought. I'm going out the same way. So what do you get when all you are is a criminal all your life? Absolutely zero. Now, let's keep going on this pulling people over. Random breath tests. Rubbish. Random intrusion into the free travel of the general public. That's exactly what it is. You are forcing them to give a sample of their breath. You are saying, without the words, you're drunk, blow in this and prove you're not. If you refuse to do it, they charge you with the highest drink driving charge. There is absolutely no evidence to show you're intoxicated or in any way, shape or form. So where was your authority to force them to give the breath? There's none. The breath, once it's breathed in, belongs to the person who receives it. They get to choose what they do with it. It's not your right. You are not above the people. You are there to serve the people. You force people to take a drug test. If they refuse, you charge them with driving under the influence of drugs. You are so stupid, you two veggies. You got signs up everywhere. Do you know the limit? We do, 0.05. But you cannot figure that is a dumb thing because you book people at 0.05. That's the limit. And when I questioned the prosecuting sergeant in the waiting room at Geraldton Court, but the regulations say, I said, so the regulations change the mathematical part of your sign. What do you mean by that? I said to be lawful, the limit would have to be 0.049, not 0.04. What part of mathematics don't you understand? And yet you book people for that. And it's not revenue, you're a liar. It is revenue. The whole lot is about revenue. But it doesn't stop there. There's a national standard on speed. And what did you do with that? Modified it so you collect more money. That's exactly what you did. Don't lie and say you didn't. At 60 k's an hour, federal law, which overrides state law under 109, says you've got to be doing 68 to get booked when you're doing 60. Because on a hot day your tyres increase in diameter and your speedo is incorrect. There are a lot of other factors. Someone's fitted wrong tyres to your car. You don't know. You put it in the workshop, get the slightly bigger tyre, and your speedo's out. Oh, you think I'm wrong? Sit down and work it out. And then I went to court using Pythagoras' theorem. The camera was exactly 4 metres off the edge of the road, and he was correct, the camera operator. But what he didn't take into account, and he lied about, was the bend in the road. It bent towards the camera. to over 2 metres in Crescent. Lied to the court and the magistrate picked him up on it. Simply because he rode his push bike to work from Drummond's Cove into Geraldton and he knew that corner was there. And that camera operator knew that increased the speed you were doing. See, when you're 4 metres off the road, the last 3 metres you travel, it's literally saying you're travelling 5 on the diagonal. Sit down and work it out. It's a mathematical fact. I did the drawings, handed it to the magistrate. He agreed with everything. Up jumped the prosecutor. Oh, he only come here to lie. That's all he ever does. No. You were told in no uncertain terms that you're the liar. Not by me. By the magistrate. Chipped you for the way you were talking because you're stupid. But you brought up Section 98 of the Road Traffic Act, Western Australia. Speed recording devices are deemed to be prima facie evidence of a case and cannot be disputed. So it doesn't matter if you put evidence to a court, you're wrong. And that's not for revenue? Of course it is. Did you break the law? Yes. You commit criminal contempt of the High Court. Fact. They wouldn't let me back in the court, otherwise I would have disputed it, but couldn't be bothered. I just paid the minimum infringement and walked out. It's not worth the problem arguing because you're thugs in the court, and majority of them are. And I've seen some of them sit there and blatantly lie in the court. I was present when the person gave evidence, and I was present when the magistrate read out the evidence which was contrary to what he had given. The reason I knew that, because I'd read the statement of the person who gave it. It didn't matter. Justice doesn't matter. This is not about justice. It's about you lying, sovereign citizens, stealing from the people. You are all pushing for a one world government through Fabian, Freemasons, and all the rest of your little groups, including your socialist, communist, idiot mates. You see, people aren't thick. They're not stupid. They look at you and you criticise what I said in a video because I said, if you shot 3 of my colleagues when I was in the police force, I would have turned that bus into Swiss cheese. He would not have got away. But he did walk away from there. So 2 things. You were gutless dogs and ran away and hid, or it didn't take place the way you said it. I don't believe it took place the way you said it. Do I believe Martin Bryant outshot any military marksman and then missed 250 shots later in a house? You produced guns that weren't burnt. He was declared mentally incapable of standing, which meant it had to be done on a plea of not guilty only, and by trial he had to be convicted. Did any of that get adhered to? No. Just like the poor old pedophiles, because they're politicians, and you said it all when you said it had to be hidden away simply because it would destroy the public's confidence in the judicial system. We haven't got one. You pack of lying, thieving sovereign citizens, you stole it off the people. Dun & Bradstreet put out a big list, which I did a video on quite a while back, showing all our public utilities that are sitting in Foreign Agents Registration Act as foreign agent government entities, US Department of Justice. Is that a fact? Yes, I got the list. I showed everybody the lists. People's short memories. You see, you think you can carry on and lie. If you want to be in history as a filthy traitor, and I'm talking now to the so-called Commissioner of the Federal Police, if you want to be known as a traitor, someone who hasn't sworn the lawful oath, someone who has ignored the actual law and just dropped in the pocket of the sovereign citizens, then go ahead. Are you going to win? No, you're not. If the public then turn on you, more fool you. You think I condone violence? No, I don't. But if the people rise up, they're going to march. I suggest you look at who's marching. The people. And as for Jacinta Allen, to go against the will of the people means what you've put is a nonsense anyway. You couldn't sign a treaty on behalf of the people because you don't represent the people. You represent the pathetic, weak, sick, treasonous Labour Party. Just another political party that owns trillions to the World Bank, because we own nothing. And as for the CEO of BlackRock, if you're watching, shut your mouth, get out of our country, we're coming for you. You're going to stand trial, but you're not going to get what you want. Understand that. The people in this country, when pushed, shoved back. 10 times harder and 10 times stronger. You think we're weak? You think we're silly? Oh yeah, all you're doing, Dodgy Roger and Mark McGowan, is protecting your butt, because you know if they come after you, you'll be the first ones with a hole where your brain should be. I'm not threatening you. I'm not stating it's going to happen. I'm not making any statement in relation to that at all. I just know when push comes to shove, we shove back. So you taking the guns off us because you believe it. You believe it. It's time you people woke up. The sovereign citizens are the idiots sitting in parliaments. The public officers calling themselves police. The occupants of the courts, including the magistrates, judges, all lawyers. Everything is under question at this time. It's under question. I sent an email to Foreign Agent Registration Act of America. Well, my wife sent it, I wrote it out. We want to know if you people are still registered there. If you've been dismissed, you are still there, you're still criminals. If you're still there, you're still criminals. Doesn't matter either way you get it. Either they answer or they don't. But you come back into this country with ABN numbers and you state, oh, it's because of goods and service tax. No, the only tax that can have two subjects of tax is customs and excise. It says so in our Constitution. Comprehend that. Goods and services tax is an unlawful tax. Unlawful because you can't have it. You can have a tax in relation to goods, tax in relation to services, which you've already got. You've got taxes on everything. Next, you won't even be able to sneeze and you'll have to pay tax because you people are dumb and idiots. What you think is not what we think. You are criminals. You think outside of the lawful system. You accuse others of breaking the law when you do. You accuse people of treason when you are traitors, liars, frauds. You do not have any part in our Constitution. No such thing as a political party. No such thing as a sovereign citizen either, but you are them. Because you are citizens of the one world system. You're pushing to go there. Albanese, you made a mockery of yourself, you moron, when you went overseas, making all these claims. You had nothing to do with the treaty. Penny Wong, you unlawfully, without lawful excuse, signed up to the One World Health Organization. The Governor-General failed to act and failed to sack you. Why? Because she's part of the system, not a lawful Governor-General. Never swore the lawful oath. It's amazing how the Australian Bulldust Club, when it's filming all that, suddenly cuts off when the oaths come up. Oh, you can't have that. It might tell the truth. You're not swearing the lawful oath. Time to wake up. Now, I'm getting off this. I'm going to enjoy my Saturday with my wife, and you can do what you like, but everything I've spoken about is the truth. The worst thing that's ever happened in this country is when Victorians traitors turn their guns on the people. Do I believe the Queensland case happened how it did? No. My opinion is the police shot their own and then shot everybody else to cover it up. Desi Freeman case, exactly the same. If it isn't, prove it, because nobody else is believing you. There's things happen in the Victorian police which I knew, where sex was traded to pay off speeding fines and everything else. And a lot of people were pulled in line for it. And that's all I'm about to say about that. Wake up. There are a lot of people in this country who know a lot more than you think and are very strongly opposed to what you're doing, which you do. We're opposed to pedophiles being concealed, which you would if you were normal. We're opposed to every single thing you do. We're opposed to the welfare system in this country all being registered businesses with no lawful authority whatsoever. If they do, prove in the Constitution where a company registered at federal level, and all are, the ABN, Australian Business Number, registered under the Fair Work Act of Australia. Prove there is a law which allows those companies to administer law in this country. Till then, a lot of yous are sitting in treason. You can call me wrong, but I'm correct. I know I am. I've studied it long enough to know that I'm correct. So you just have a good day, because I'm having a fantastic day. Just watching you maggots cringe back from what you're doing. This makes my day every day. Thank you.